The annual Terry Fox Run is coming up on Sunday, and most like other things, it's going to look a little bit different. Associate Counsel here at FH&P Lawyers and a former member of the organizing committee, Wes Shields, joins us, and that is the theme, isn't it? It's going to look a little bit different once again this year.
Well, it's going to be considerably different this year because of the fact that we're dealing with COVID, and it'll be a virtual run. Like a lot of organizations, that's what you're faced with. But the mandate is to try to ensure that we keep the dream alive for Terry. The run continues in one form or another, and that's the way we'll be dealing with it this year, as has been for the last year and a half or so.
Over 40 years now, is that right?
That's right. It was. It's hard to believe. Back in 1980, Terry's Marathon of Hope started, and will be. It's been over 40 years since he started that dream. It's interesting, when he first announced his dream to eradicate cancer, or try to eradicate cancer, the dream was to raise $1 from every Canadian, which was, at that time, we had a population of 25 million people, and he did succeed that and basically surpassed that. I was reading statistics the other day indicating that the run has raised over $800 million since its inception, and it continues to bring in money for research that's definitely needed to eradicate this disease.
And what it did for us Canadians and for Canadian research, but around the world too. People are looking at the Terry Fox Foundation and seeing what success they've had and raising funds that way as well.
That's correct. So what's happened is, basically, with the Terry Fox Foundation, is 87 cents of every dollar that's raised goes specifically to the research, and research seems to be the key for finding cures to cancer. A case in point is with the cancer that Terry Fox was diagnosed with. It's made strides in terms of cures, and probably if Terry was alive today and was diagnosed with a cancer he had back in 1980, he would be alive to tell us a little bit about it. So we've made a lot of headway in terms of the foundation spending money in research, and as I say, that's the key for the future. And despite the fact that we're finding cures, it seems that we're getting success rates, longer survival rates for cancer patients, but there's still a lot of cancers out there that we don't know what causes them and what the cures are for them. So there's a lot of research yet to be done. But some of the cancers, as I say, in the last 40 years, they're treated more as a chronic disease now than a death sentence that may have been imposed upon you if it was 40 years ago when you were diagnosed with a certain type of cancer. So we are making a lot of headway with that, and the recognition, as you've mentioned, is significant because this Terry Fox run is not isolated to just Canada. There's runs throughout the world, and it's heartwarming that 40 years later, countries in different regions that we never would have anticipated are holding the annual Terry Fox run. So there's no boundaries that cancer doesn't sort of cross. It hits everyone, and I think that's what people are recognizing, the importance of that.
Touched you as well as a cancer survivor.
Correct. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Again, I guess time flies. I was diagnosed 10 years ago with prostate cancer. I'm a survivor, thank God for that. And it's touched not only me, it touches family members. I've lost my stepfather and my mother to cancer in 2003, different types of cancers. My sister was diagnosed with cancer too in the 2000 period. So it hits a lot of family members, and it's when they say 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people will be touched with cancer, that statistic is realistic. And the issue is again, it's not something where we can say it's fatalistic, and because you're diagnosed with cancer, although it's a scary diagnosis, we've made a lot of progress over the years, and that's positive. And so long as we have donors, and as long as we have this run continue, we're going to continue to fund the research so that hopefully someday, maybe in my lifetime, cancer will be eradicated, and if not, at least treated as I mentioned before, a chronic disease where we can manage it and prolong our lives and live as comfortable as possible moving forward.
As you say, it touches everybody, it touches the younger generation, and with that, the younger generation gets involved through the school system with the Terry Fox Run, which is near and dear to my heart too. My kids are now in grade 7 and 5, and they know the Terry Fox story. They also run in the Terry Fox Run, so it warms your heart that way too.
Yeah, and that's what you see throughout is the school districts throughout the country do a good job in ensuring that Terry's memory is kept alive. And I think that shows the importance to a lot of people, and the older generation, perhaps like myself, yourself, and everybody's passing on the torch to recognize that cancer just doesn't stop. Yeah. And one of the things I think that resounds, at least in my mind, is that when Terry Fox was diagnosed with cancer and he was being treated, he constantly mentioned the fact that he was concerned about the younger kids that were being diagnosed with cancer in the pediatric ward. And I think that's what maybe is why the message continues to resonate throughout the schools, the younger generation, is we still haven't cured a lot of the childhood cancers, and that's what we need to work on. And I think that's why it's so important at the younger level as well, as for the kids to realize, perhaps not as much as adults do, but the importance of finding cures for the cancers at that level. And what happens at the younger level too is these kids in elementary school who are running for Terry Fox are going to pass that on to their kids. And I'm hoping it will stop, that they won't have to pass it on to their kids. But at least now everybody's on the same page and working towards a common goal, which is to eradicate cancer.
And we have another run here in Kelowna on Sunday, virtually, or you do it on your own. And we're missing that group connection when we usually see it in the park. So hopefully next year, 2022, there'll be one back in the park. Do you think there'll be more participation because people want to get out and they continue to want to give?
I think so, and I think that being locked up with COVID is one factor, but I do think truly, and in past years when I've been part of the organizing committee for the Terry Fox Run, we've seen the numbers grow. I think people more and more believe in the cause for eradicating cancer. They want to support a good cause. The Terry Fox Foundation has been around for years. It's something that people can donate money to, feel good about it, and know that we're making positive strides moving forward. So the answer is yes. I think that in time to come, we're going to be finding more people participating in the Terry Fox Run. The virtual run is something that we try to encourage people to participate in, but I do think people are truly social animals and they want to be part of it. And I know in the past couple of years we've had good turnouts, and it's very positive and inspirational listening to the speakers and just being able to gather together. And I'm hoping in 2022 we'll be able to do that.
Fingers crossed. Thanks for doing this, Wes. And you can still get involved, terryfox.org. You can be a volunteer, you can run, you can walk, or you can simply donate.